What was your intentions for writing the book then?
The thought that's going through my mind is, how cool would it be at 23 to have a best-selling book? When I launched a book, came an Amazon bestseller, I'm 1 year out of college and now I have a career book.
What does that feel like?
It's one of those feelings where every single time you're like, damn, AI can really be great to assist you in some aspects of this process. To have a book completely written by AI, there still tends to be a gap. We actually built out something called BIB, which is Big Idea to Bestseller. We shorten it to BIB, Echo Write. And this is our 24/7 AI thought partner. If you have resources at your disposal, why wouldn't you use it? If I look at what my biggest dreams are in life, they've always been centered around family and connection. If I look at all the things that I've ever built, nothing is comparable to what my biggest dreams are.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today I've got an absolute powerhouse of a guest, Jake Kelfer. Jake is a best-selling author, keynote speaker, and high-performance coach who has dedicated his career to helping entrepreneurs, authors, and business leaders elevate their game. He's worked with the Los Angeles Lakers, built multiple successful businesses, and coached countless entrepreneurs on how to create impact, build connections, and achieve massive success. He's the founder of the Professional Basketball Combine and the creator of the Big Idea to Bestseller program, and has written multiple books, including Elevate Beyond, Elevate Your Network, and The Elevated Entrepreneur. His work has been featured in Forbes, ESPN, Sports Illustrated, and so many more. And today he's here to drop some serious knowledge bombs. We're talking networking, business growth, personal development, and the mindset shifts you need to make it if you want to play at the highest level. Jake, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for coming. This is great.
Yes. No, we appreciate you driving down. I'd love to hear just your journey, like starting from the basketball to the public speaking to what you're doing now, like just your little cliff notes of the journey so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version for sure. I started my career working for the Lakers. So I graduate college, big dreams. My first job ever is with the Lakers.
Which is such a cool first job.
And I'm an LA kid. So we have a room in my parents' house. It's called the Lakers room, painted purple and gold, tons of memorabilia. It's like the coolest room ever. Like we had a life-size cardboard cutout of Kobe Bryant that I'd play video games next to, growing up. So it was awesome. I get to work for the team. It's Kobe's final NBA season. I'm like, I got to do this. Even if it's not my forever job, it's my right now,
big
once in a lifetime.
What were you doing for the Lakers?
So I was a corporate partnerships assistant,
okay.
which basically means during the daytime, I did Excel documents and did whatever the actual people that were coordinators and people that had been there for a while, they needed. And then on game days, what I got to do, and this was the highlight, was I got to be the person who picked all the contestants for the contests and the sponsorship activations. So if there was a half-court shot or the skills challenge or whatever, I got to randomly select those people and give them an experience that they would remember for the rest of their life.
That's really cool.
So cool.
Right? So I'm there, and I'm loving this, right?
Did you ever try to sneak your friends into the stuff like that, or your family?
There were ways to do it, but
manipulate the system slightly.
But half-court shot is a half-court shot, right? I could pick the best basketball player I know, and for them to hit that shot is still a unlikely occurrence. So of course, we want to give our friends the opportunities. If we knew someone was going to be at the game, we would, try to help them out to the best that we can. I also was so raw and fresh. I was in my first year out of school. I didn't want to break any rules.
Rule follower.
I don't want to break any rules.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I wasn't going to not be a great fan. I wasn't going to not enjoy my time there because.
Totally.
It was awesome. It was awesome. And there were great people there. And so while I was there though, and this continues into the book and how I got started, that is I was so inspired by Kobe, right? I saw people spend their life savings traveling the world to watch Kobe play one more time. And I was like, that's incredible. Like I need to be able to make my impact on the world in some way, shape or form. The problem was I was 22 years old. I didn't know shit about shit. And I was just hustling, right? I was just doing my thing. So I actually, 6 months later, I had written my first book. And so Kobe retired, I retired.
That's such a big transition. Did you know you always wanted to write books? Did you have writing experience?
Yeah, no writing experience, but yes, I always thought I would write a book. But here's the thing, I thought, and this was something that I looking back, I can clearly now see the path is, I thought in order to write a book, you already had to make it.
Okay.
You already had to have money. You already had to have status. You had to have been somebody before you could write a book or public speak. But what I realized very, very early on, and I was very fortunate to meet a mentor of mine, and you don't have to wait for all those things. You can choose what you want to do, when you want to do it, and people won't agree with you, but it doesn't mean you're wrong.
Sure.
And so I ended up writing my first book, I would go home after Laker games and I would go to the office in the early mornings and I would just type on my laptop, and then I'd clock into work, clock out of work, and I'd type again. And 6 months later, I had the book written, published, and I launched my first book. So Kobe retires.
When you were doing that, what were you thinking? Like, what was your intentions for writing the book then? What did you think that was going to do for you?
Well, at that time, I had no idea. The truth of that, if I really am honest with you.
Yeah, like looking back.
If I'm really honest with you, I'm writing this book, and the thought that's going through my mind is, how cool would it be at 23 to have a best-selling book?
Okay.
Like how cool would it be? And the second part of that, the tangible part of that was, if I'm 23 and I have a book, I'm going to be at an advantage over every other 23-year-old who's trying to advance their career.
Okay.
I don't need a resume anymore. I have a book.
I think that's a good way to look at it.
Ethic? You want to talk about work ethic? You want to talk about commitment? You want to talk about discipline?
I mean, it shows all
the
those
qualities that people are looking for in the roles that I wanted. This demonstrated that. So I was using it as that. But when I launched a book and it became an Amazon bestseller, it made me recognize, oh my God, there's so much more that can come from this.
What year was that?
This was in 2016. So May 1st, 2016, the first book came out. By September of that year, I was getting paid thousands of dollars to speak all over the United States.
So people were finding you from the book and then paying you to be a public speaker.
Well, yeah. And so this was crazy. Now, the book was called Elevate Beyond, and it was actually a career development book from a millennial's perspective. Mm-hmm. So this kind of ironic, right? Like I'm 1 year out of college and now I have a career book, right? And so people were like, what are you thinking? The amount of criticisms I got because I wrote that was insane. They're like, you have 1 year of work experience. What makes you think you can teach people about career? And it taught me a lesson that I recognize now, which is you don't have to be the best. You just have to be 1-2 steps ahead of the person you're trying to serve. Mm-hmm. And so I was. And so the way that I actually started booking this stuff is I made a list of every single community college in California.
Okay.
Because that's where I thought I could start. There's 113 of them.
When you say booking, you mean booking your public speaking gigs.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is how I started.
Yep.
Because I was like, I don't really know what to do. I don't know what I don't know. I don't know a path. I didn't have anybody other than one mentor who said, you could speak on this. Mm-hmm. Well, to who, about what, and how does it work? So I said, well, let's start from ground zero. Who am I going to speak to? Probably college kids. That's what I just was. That's people I can know.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I made a list of every single college in California. I did every single community college and every single regular college, like four-year university. Mm-hmm. There's 113 community college. So I made a list of every single person that it was in any department that I thought could work. Mm-hmm. And I just picked up the phone and sent emails all day, every day until someone answered. A few months later, I'm booked, getting paid thousands of dollars, given different presentations. The first one I ever got, they were like, hey, I'll never forget this. So I was alphabetical order. Mm-hmm. And I'm reaching out. And the first one is, I think it was like ARC. It stood for something. So it's early on. I was like, I got a bite. I'm like, oh, this is so easy. This is so easy, right? Like,
write a book, go speak in colleges.
And this school, I remember they were like, hey, so, we're interested. Your book looks really, really fascinating. We have this whole career day coming up. We're interested in having you speak. I'm like, awesome. Love it. They go, what kind of presentations do you do? I didn't have any presentations. I was going to sell the thing first and then build it.
Yeah.
I can just talk about it. And I go, well, I got a couple different ones that I've been, kind of working on. And they go, okay, well, is it around the book content? I'm like, oh yeah. It's absolutely around the book content. It's about this, this, and this. And they're like, oh, that's great, because we actually need you to do 12 presentations over 2 days. And you're going to do 4 rounds of 3 different presentations back to back to back.
Damn.
I was like, not a problem. Not a problem. I have 0 PowerPoints created at this point at all. But I signed the deal and I'm like, let's go. I figured it out, right?
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah. You got to figure this stuff out.
For sure.
So that was the first gig. And I come in there with oversized baggy khakis, and a button-down shirt because I don't have my brand style yet. Mm-hmm. And I just knock it out of the park. Mm-hmm. I have the greatest time ever. And I'm like, this is where we're going.
That's your lane.
I just doubled down on that and started figuring out how to get better. And over the last 8 years, now 9 years, almost.
Are you still doing that?
Yes, but in different capacity now. As my businesses and my journey has evolved, the way I approach things is a little bit different. But if I'm ever trying to start something from the ground up, I make a list of the people who have the audiences that I want, and I go directly to the source and figure out a way to get in.
For sure.
My book has always been the best thing at every stage of my business and my life. Having a book related to the thing you want to talk about has always been the way to get in the door for me.
Damn.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I love that.
Captivating.
So how many people's books have you helped write? Because this is what you're doing now. You're writing. You're helping people write their books and bring their books to market and become Amazon bestsellers, right?
Yeah. So since that time with my first book, I wrote 4 books before I turned 30 years old, and each book leveled me up in a different way.
Okay.
Speaking engagements internationally, building network and relationships, and then also now teaching people. And now our business has evolved into Big Idea Bestseller. It's a full-service book publishing company, helping people write, publish, and launch nonfiction books. And so we've helped, between readers of my books and clients that we've helped thousands and thousands of people learn about the book process. And specifically, we've worked with hundreds and hundreds of authors to help them come from their idea all the way through a successful launch and have their book into the world, creating that ultimate ripple effect.
That's so cool. What does that feel like? Like when somebody comes to you and you take them from like an idea that's just in their brain and put it on paper?
It's one of those feelings where every single time you're like, damn. Because a book is not just like a webinar or a one-off experience, right? A book is something that for a lot of our clients, they've been thinking about it for 25 years. Mm-hmm. They have 45 different journals that they've been writing and they've tried 10 times and they're stuck. They don't know what to do. And so we unlock that in a matter of months. So cool. They go from 20 years of waiting to several months, and now they're on the bestsellers list.
Literally writer's block.
So yeah. And so the feeling is spectacular.
That must be so cool.
Yeah.
How do you get people on the bestsellers list? Like, how does that happen?
Well, I think with everything, there's a game to be played, right? Mm-hmm. There's a system, right? And so in terms of the bestseller list on Amazon, in order to be a bestseller, you have to be the #1 book in a particular category. So
based on sales, the amount of sales going through Amazon?
Yeah, so there's a certain amount of sales that you need within a certain amount of time period. You need to have reviews. But ultimately, look, if you want to be a best-selling author, you need to sell copies of your book. Mm-hmm. So what is the best way to do that in the standpoint of being able to position your book in the right way? Mm-hmm. So you want to really make sure that your book cover is amazing. Mm-hmm. Because if your book cover sucks, no one's
branding's everything.
Branding is everything, right? You know that with all your products,
yes,
right? And then
has to look good.
It's got to look good. If it doesn't look good, like as much as we want to say we're not judgmental, we're going to judge it. And
for sure.
Books especially. Like if your book cover sucks, maybe you're amazing, but I'm not picking up your book.
Totally.
Right?
But aren't you not supposed to judge a book by its cover?
Exactly. And I love the phrase because it's never been more relevant than it is now.
Or is it relevant?
Yeah. It is. And so there's a system that we figured out. And so every person that we've helped come through our program has hit Amazon bestseller status, which is really amazing. But the truth of the matter is this: hitting bestseller status, awesome, check it off the list. And I encourage everyone to strive for that. Mm-hmm. But where I think, and what I've learned is the most powerful piece of this, is instead of striving for the achievement of being a best-selling author, strive for the identity of someone who is a best-selling author. Because when you have the identity of someone who's a best-selling author, you're someone who is confident. You're someone who wrote a book on some great material that you know will help people. And by doing that, that ultimately leads to the bigger results that you're actually striving for, which is a lot of impact, a lot of readers, speaking engagements, coaching clients, and additional ancillary product and creations. So like that's kind of how I like to think about it, is like, yeah, let's go for the achievement. Let's make the ego feel good, but let's also go for the identity, which creates the future.
That's so cool. You've had a peek underneath the hood of a lot of, people that are critically thinking, right? Based on their own life, their own experiences, et cetera. What would you say that you find that are like parallels or common denominators that you see in people, doesn't matter what they're writing about, that put it on paper?
All right. One thing that comes to mind, and it comes to mind because we were talking about sports before this, and big sports guy, obviously.
Huge.
And when you look at athletes and what makes athletes great, there are 2 things that I've noticed. One of them, and I learned this from watching Kobe my whole life, and then also being able to see him in warm-ups at the games on the court, is you have to be great at the basics. You have to be great at the fundamentals. And so the people that can do the fundamentals repeatedly are often able to outlast the competition at the highest level.
I agree with that.
So number one is we got to look at that, right? When it comes to writing a book, anybody can do it, but you have to be willing to commit to the basics and to the mundane, which in this case is showing up, creating the outline, knowing why you're doing this, asking the questions, writing the first word, right? So that's one aspect, and we can go even deeper into that, but that's one aspect, is you have to be willing to do the fundamentals over and over and over again for a longer period of time than somebody else is willing to do it. The second thing The second, and by the way, if you do that with a book, you can get your first draft done in 30 days or less. Like that's the other thing, is it doesn't have to take you forever, years, a ton of time. You just got to know what the right process is. The second component to this is when I ran my basketball event for NBA draft prospects, one of the things that was really interesting was all of these guys that we would coach and that we would put on the court were in like almost to the draft level, meaning they were right on the fringe, the outside looking in. And so a big performance here could raise their draft stock. And so these guys weren't shoe-ins. These guys weren't lottery picks. These guys weren't guys that were guaranteed millions of dollars. These guys were guys that were fighting for their roster spot. Mm-hmm. And the coolest thing that I got to see by doing this is the NBA executives and the scouts, they would look at and see who is the most coachable, who is the most willing to adapt, who is the most willing to make the adjustments in the shortest amount of time. And so when I look at the question you asked and you look at books, the people that are able to make sure that they're coachable, to receive information, to understand that you don't know what you don't know. If you already knew everything, you would already have your book. You would already achieve the result. And so for me, those two things, the fundamentals and doing the things over and over again, mixed with the ability to be coachable for the right things, those two characteristics to me have been pivotal for people who write successful books, build successful businesses.
Do anything in life.
Yeah.
And that could go from just making breakfast in the morning, raising your kids, right?
Exactly.
I feel like I hear so many people talk about those two aspects of anything.
Yeah.
And that those are so powerful. And I think, especially with the fundamentals, people want to go from A to F.
Immediately.
But they need B, C, D, and E, right?
Yeah.
And you got to be able to do all of those right. Not just like, glance at them or like, do them. But you have to actually do them, and you have to do them right. And you have to repeat it, and you got to do it over and over and over again. Fundamentals in sport, in life, in relationships, in raising kids, in diet and exercise. You have to hit the fundamentals every day.
Do you feel like those characteristics are ingrained in you, or like can be taught?
Oh, I think almost everything can be taught. I think there's different baseline levels that each person has. Now, I'm no scientist. I know somebody that doesn't study this or anything, but from my experience, I believe that everyone has a baseline skill set level across the board. Mm-hmm. Now, if you look at happiness studies, you can see that people actually have baseline levels of happiness. Some are naturally more happy. Some have to work harder to create the mindset. But I believe from my own experience in my life that I have a baseline set of skills. How much better I want to be at anything, though, can be improved with the right amount of repetition, right? Like with book writing, especially, people expect their first draft to be perfect. Do you expect to ride a bike perfectly after you do 1 hour of learning? No. Do you expect to speak a language after 3 years of high school Spanish? No. Why do we expect to be perfect writing a book? Because it matters. The things that matter to us more tend to be the things that we have to put more energy towards, right? Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to this, do I believe it's ingrained or taught? I believe we have a baseline ingrainment. I don't even know if that's the right word, but baseline level of things that are ingrained. And then you have the ability to get better or to change or to delegate or to improve dependent on the outcome that you desire.
I love that.
I agree with that too.
So I want to write a book. I come to you and you basically will help me write the whole, what is it called? Like ghostwriting?
Yeah.
How does the process work? You get my whole story. You and I get on multiple calls. I tell you everything about my life, what I want my book to be about. You guys will critique it and pull the best parts out of that and then help me write the whole thing.
In a nutshell, yeah. I mean, there are two ways that we do it, right? So there are people that want to write the book themselves. And so what we do is we pair them with writing coaches, where you'll meet with a writing coach, but you're actually the one typing, right? You're the one actually typing the book. Then the other side is ghostwriting, where we have ghostwriters who will interview you, pull out the content, they'll write it in your voice using the words you already said, but just create it into a cohesive manner. And then you approve that. So those are the two different ways that we encourage people to write their book. Either write it yourself with a writing coach or have a ghostwriter pull it out for you and write it in your voice. Once that's done though, our team, we do all the editing, we do all the cover design, we do all the interior layout and the formatting. We professionally publish you. You keep 100% ownership. So you can use the book however you want. We help you launch. We help you run the Amazon bestseller launch campaign. And then we market your book so that you can actually use the book to achieve the back end goals. That's in a very high level, the process of how we take somebody from I'm thinking about it to having a best-selling book on a Times Square billboard.
That's cool.
What's the process as far as time? Like how long does that take?
The timeline, it definitely can vary, but what we see is typically 6 to 8 months from I'm thinking about it to bestseller
Book in hand.
Book in hand, launched, bestseller status, everything. And to be honest, we see about 3 to 7 hours a week is all that's required to do this at a very high level. And we're not talking about a crappy AI book that you throw up. We're talking about professional quality that when you put it on a bookshelf, someone looks at it and they're like, that belongs there. Right. And so these are full length manuscripts, ebooks, paperbacks, hardcovers, I mean, everything, because I believe that truly, like deep down, books change lives. I remember I was 18 years old. I'm a senior in high school, and I read a book called Training Camp by John Gordon. It's like a business fable book. Changed my life. The right book can change somebody's life. And if you believe you have your story, this is where I get like passionate.
Let it all out.
If you have something to share, it's your responsibility to do so. And there's no better way that is universally accepted and time tested to make an impact on somebody than by giving someone the chance to read their future favorite book. And if you can do that, you've done your job.
Sign me up.
You've done your job.
Sign me up.
I feel like we have this inherent like obligation to each other as humans also to share our strengths with each other, because you might be good at something, but you also might be really coachable. I might be really good at something. I can share something, like you just said, whether it's something in a book or on a note card or a quote that you see that triggers something within you. And then you can go off and create something special for yourself based on the knowledge or the wisdom that you've learned or read.
Yeah. And the coolest thing about it is like, why are we doing this? Right? Like what's the purpose of all of this? And if it's a book, is it impact? Is it leveraging for your business tool? Is it credibility in life as a leader? Like, what are you doing it for? Like, why are you building the organization? Why do you want to share your strengths with someone? The minute you identify that, the action plan becomes pretty simple.
Super simple.
Yeah.
Super simple.
What other streams of revenue can a book create for somebody besides just the public speaking?
Well, how much time do we have here? I mean, this is an incredible question. I have found that books are not just books. Okay, let me walk you through just a handful of things here.
Yep.
A book, low ticket, physical product, right? That's how most people, you go on Amazon, you buy the book. It can also be a digital book, right? A book can be the baseline for your speaking. So your speaking fees, speaking engagements is a great source of revenue from a book. Course creation and digital products is a great thing from a book. Creating a coaching program or a consulting practice on the back end of a book. These are all very baseline level things, but let's take it one step further. You can write a book to create investing options for yourself. If you're in like a real estate business or tech space, you write a book, you build the credibility, people start to bring you deals. That can be a way to raise money or to generate revenue. If you're in real estate, you can use it to source incoming deals, right? So there's a lot of different ways. If you want to have a career transition, a lot of people that we work with are in a corporate career. They've had an unbelievable successful career. They want to move into more of the personal development, coaching, consulting, speaking. So they write a book, and that shortens
It's like the vehicle that helps
gap.
them get there.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
It's like a bridge.
It's an absolute bridge. And when we talk about making money, let's talk about saving money as well when you write a book. When you write a book, you save yourself a ton of time. Why? Because that book, my book's 170 pages. Well, that's my content. I flip to a random page. That's what I'm talking about on my Instagram Live. I don't have to think anymore. That's the reel that I create. That's the carousel that I create. So now I'm saving time, 5-10 hours a week. All of a sudden, I got all my podcast ideas, all my educational material, all my YouTube videos. Now, if you value your time at, let's say $100 an hour and you save 10 hours a week, that's $1,000 you just saved. Do that for a year, that's 12 grand. Do that for 10 years, that's a house payment. Like, how do you save money? How do you make money? The levers are limitless. Not to mention it's a networking tool, client acquisition tool, customer experience tool, and just an overall the number one credibility factor that we have in the world today that everyone trusts.
That's so cool. I have a question for you. How have large language models impacted both writing books, coming up with ideas for books, ghostwriting, etc.?
I think it's made a positive impact in some aspects. And I think, when we reference LLMs, right, we're generally speaking about AI in general, right, related to the process. Is that fair?
Well, I mean, as the public, somebody who's watching this, us, we only really know AI as like ChatGPT or Grok, right, now.
Yeah.
But AI is much more than that. We're just scratching the surface with these little M's that we can put in information. It could spit something out the other side.
Yeah, so we have found so far, and this comes from my team who is way better at the publishing side and the technical side than I am at this point. And they and what we have found is that AI can really be great to assist you in some aspects of this process, but to have a book completely written by AI, there still tends to be a gap missing the human touch and element. So we actually built out something called BIB, which is Big Idea to Bestseller. We shorten it to BIB, Echo Right. And this is our 24/7 AI thought partner. And basically what it does is it allows, we created it with the intention that if you're struggling with ideas, if you're struggling to elaborate on a concept, but you know it's good, if you're struggling to find stats or quotes, well, then what you can do is you can tap in, plug and play with our built out program, and that can support you through limiting beliefs, writer's block, baseline editing, and some very, very developmental structural stuff. So that's where I have found the most success within using that.
No, I've studied a decent amount, like not deep, but like just what I know, that it's definitely helped people become more efficient. And I think that alludes to what you were just saying, just being more efficient. Even if like you're really good at something, you have an idea, you just use it for that extra little push or that extra little idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, if you have resources at your disposal that could potentially help you, why wouldn't you use it?
100%.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, you'd be fool not to.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm playing basketball growing up and I got a weight room next to the gym, why wouldn't I also use the weight room?
Exactly.
Right? If I can do something that would potentially give me an advantage and save myself time in the process, why wouldn't I? Wouldn't I do it? If I can go into the sauna before I work out to get my muscles loose. Now, maybe people would say that's not the right thing to do, but like I enjoy it. So like, why wouldn't I take advantage of those things? I think we should.
That's not the average mindset, though.
It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all programmed a little different, right? Nature versus nurture. But like her and I use AI every day, like a lot.
Every day.
Like every day.
Long.
The large language models. Like it just helps with the efficiency. And it goes back to the point that you made a couple times now. It gives you more time. It gives you time back, which is, as we all know, is life's number one asset.
Yeah.
We have a limited bank account on time, right? You make those withdrawals every day. It can get exhausting, but now you have these tools like a weight room or something that can help you be more efficient at what you're good at or what you're trying to do. Yeah. I mean, these large language models are I mean, literally life-changing, world-changing.
Totally. And I mean, I'm still learning, and I think we'll continue to be learning. But there's some people that love this stuff, and they're so advanced. And I mean, you can hear people who are experts, and it's incredible.
It's fucking mind-blowing to me.
It's
now
mind-blowing.
that like on your account, like ChatGPT, for example, like you don't even have to prompt it anymore because it's all about the prompting, right? Up front. But now that we've prompted it so many times, it knows exactly.
I call it my assistant.
Yeah.
She knows me.
It's the assistant in your pocket. Knows who you are. Knows what you look for. Knows the name of your business.
Knows my voice. Knows everything.
Do you have a name for her?
No, I just know she's a her.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you know, like people like name their cars, right?
Yeah.
Well, like we might be at that level where
I don't have a name for her yet.
She's a her.
Yeah.
That's funny.
She's definitely a her. My employees make fun of me. They're like, ask your assistant, because like she literally knows me.
Oh, that's great.
It's wild. Were your parents entrepreneurs?
Yeah, they're very entrepreneurial. My dad runs a t-shirt promotional product company, so he's been running his own business for as long as I can remember. And my mom, she had her own clinical social work practice. Okay. And she also taught part-time at the University of Southern California School of Social Work.
Oh, that's cool.
I couldn't be more grateful to them for what they've shared with me, what they've taught me, what I've learned from them. And like, I'm able to dance between this very empathetic side of me that comes from really understanding my mom and the concept of validate, right? These social work isms and these concepts that she really instilled in me with the like, get up early, grind it out, let's make some shit happen that I got from my dad. And both my parents, they've been such a big and positive role model on me.
That's amazing.
I'm just so grateful. And I think that's like helped me have the permission to like go big and to make these bold claims and to make and to create these big dreams, because they worked their butts off while me and my brother were growing up, and they showed me what was possible. And now I have an unlimited opportunity to go for it.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to me. Quite a few people have sat in that chair, and I know you podcast, you've probably done a gazillion of them. And when you're sitting across the table from somebody make points that you can like really resonate with. You were just talking about how your parents had made such an impact on you, right? And I know I can speak to that. She can speak to that probably half. 50% of your upbringing.
Yeah.
But some people can't relate to that. But people do get inspiration, ideas, the nature versus nurture argument, that nurturing from people, friends, sports, teams, experiences that they've had in their upbringing. It's so crazy and cool to me to hear that. And I've heard it come out of 20 people's mouths now, just their experiences. And I think it's cool. I really love it. It's like one of my favorite things about this.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I know how grateful, like I know how privileged I am to have two parents that still love each other after 30 plus years. They've just shown me a lot of things. And I think that's why, if I look at what my biggest dreams are in life, they've always been centered around family and connection. And so like, if I look at all the things that I've ever built, nothing is comparable to what my biggest dreams are, which is to be married to someone that I love, which now I can actually say on this podcast, like I am, like I found my partner, like that's huge. And the second biggest dream I have is like be a father someday. Like that's what I want. Like I've had that same dream for the last decade since I was in my early 20s. And now I'm entering a stage where these are no longer the biggest pipe dreams ever. These are very soon to be realities. And it is wild because I'm just so excited, you know? And I owe a lot of that, like that desire, I think, comes from having parents that gave me a great upbringing and showed me what kind of person I could become when I have love in my life. And, you know, I have a lot of friends that their parents' situation wasn't the same as mine. They come over to my house.
Do you see that in the humans that they are?
Yeah. I mean, I think you see, I think look, every parent, no matter how great they are, screws you up in some way, shape, or form.
For sure.
Right? Like
we say that all the time.
Like everyone's got their issues. It's just a matter of like, which issues are you going to have?
Exactly.
Right? And like, I know the issues that I currently work through, they stem from some of the things that I grew up learning.
But it's like, are you going to let those issues define you?
No. And am I willing to make a change about those issues? Right. And like, I was literally on my way down here, I'm driving, I called both my mom and my dad. Okay. So I'm talking to my mom about like some emotional things, about checking in, seeing how I'm feeling. Right. And I talked to my dad about like the Lakers and tactical things and business things. Right. And I'm just like, this is hilarious for this conversation. And I was talking with my dad and I was like, man, I'm going through like this thing right now.
What is it?
And it's this thing, you know, it's this thing, right? But I'm feeling it like it's any situation. This could be applied to any situation where you're going through something and you're like, all the thoughts come up, all the limiting beliefs, all the doubts, right? It typically happens when you're about to do something
new. Yeah.
Do something
I'm
new,
having that right now.
About to level up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you start to, all these beliefs creep in.
What if this? What if this? What if it doesn't work?
And I had these when I wrote my book. I've had these when I go to new levels in business. And I'm experiencing this right now. And what was really cool is as I'm talking to him and I'm recognizing this, I'm like, wait a sec.
This is a good thing.
This is the game, baby.
Yeah.
This is the game. We're down by 10 in the fourth quarter. Like we're not getting blown out at halftime. We got a chance to come back here, take the lead, and go on and win this championship. So the feeling now shifts from, gosh, am I going to be willing to take the final shot? We're going deep into sports. Am I going to be willing to take the final shot?
I'll go as deep as you want.
Right? Am I going to be willing to do that? Or am I just going to sit back and try to let others tell me and hope that the outcome is good? Hell no.
Yeah.
I'm just
I can relate to that.
on the positive. And I'm gonna feel the feelings. I'm gonna appreciate them that they're there. But you better believe I'm gonna put and choose what type of thoughts come into my mind, what actions I'm gonna take. I'm gonna double down on things that got me here. Like go all in.
I feel a lot of that comes from experience though. Like we
does.
We all experience that in one way, shape, or form through the ranks as we get brought up, right? Being uncomfortable, being uncomfortable. But as you get more familiar with it and comfortable with it, like you almost embrace it, kind of gives you goosebumps because the great sports analogy, right? Like you're down by 10, there's 4 minutes left. Like you've been here before, you've seen this movie before. Yes, it's ended different ways, but it has ended in the way that you think it's going to end because you're able to, all the hard work that you've put in, right? Dieting, exercise, like you don't gain muscle from being comfortable. No. You gain muscle from being fucking uncomfortable and tearing your muscles up and being like going through pain. Oh, yeah. Right? Like there's so many parallels as far as that's considered. Like, I don't know. I think that's just like great for anyone that going through life, having experience and just applying it again and again and again. Like you've seen it before. Let's go.
Yeah. And I have this life philosophy that I kind of live by. As a diehard sports person, I like to make everything a game. Okay. And ultimately, the one game that we all play is the game of life. Everyone is living a different life with their own set of rules, with their own set of beliefs, and their own upbringings. To try to compete with everybody else leads you down winning the wrong game. We know that. We've seen that story. We've seen that dance. So here's how I kind of like to think about it is we all have a game. I want to be the champion of my life. When it's all said and done, I want to look back at my life and say, I'm going up in the rafters. I won the game of life. I'm a champion, literally. Right? I'm a champion. But in order to do that, you have every single day, right? Now, champions don't win every day. That's just not the way life is going to work. You're not going to have great days every day. But great teams that make the playoffs, 60%, 70%.
Have more wins than losses.
You have more wins than losses and you show up. So what do I want my life to be? I might not have a great day. That's okay. The next day I'm going to try to have a little bit better of a day. If I can have more wins than losses, I'm going to make the playoffs in the game of life. When I make the playoffs in the game of life, that's where my preparation, all my hard work's going to come into play. I'm going to win the motherfucking championship.
Yep.
Right? Like I'm going to win. So the point of this, and I hope this is applicable to everybody, is this: look, we're all playing a game. We all want something different. We all are going to take a different way of getting there. Even if we're in the same line of work, same line of things, we're going to take a different approach. So can you win today? And then can you win the next day? And then if you have a bad day, can you rebound from that, learn from that? And if you do that over and over and over again, you're going to end up with a lot more wins than losses. And in the game of life, a lot more wins equates to a great life.
Yep. And going back to previous points that you make, the more often you practice that and do that, the stronger you're going to build up those fundamentals.
What are some of like your mindset hacks when you get in that like mindset?
That's a great,
because entrepreneurship is obviously a roller coaster, right? You have the ups and downs, you have the good days, you have the bad days. Like, how do you pull yourself out of that?
I think there's a few things. One, I think when you can learn from past experience to create future intention, that's a huge thing. But let's say you don't have a ton of prior experience dealing with these emotions and you're kind of in it, right? I do a few different things. One of them that I've learned recently is to talk about it more vulnerably. Previously, what I would try to do is I would just try to power through it. And that works for a lot of things, but now that I have a life partner, now that I have a team, it's important for me to be honest and to share and to express those things in a healthy way. The other thing, though, that I can do are a lot of things that are in my control. And so I have a 2-minute shower routine that I do every day, and I double down on it when I'm feeling it. And basically what it is at the end of every shower, I love hot showers. At the end of shower, though,
you're not a
I'll take a cold shower. Well,
okay.
At the end, I want to enjoy my shower, right?
I'm the same way. The cold plunging thing, I don't get it. Like I just, it's not for me.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to get a little cold shower in. But so what I do is I take a hot shower and at the very end, I turn it all the way cold. Now we're in Southern California. It still doesn't get that cold, right? Yes. But what I do is I basically do four things. The first thing that I'll do is I'll say 3 things that I'm grateful for. Okay. Very straightforward. I'm grateful for this because of this. So I like to add the because I feel like it puts more meaning to it.
How long have you been doing this for?
I've been doing this for years now.
Okay.
I've been doing this for years, and it's something that consistently improves my energy. It consistently primes me for the day, and it just always, I always end feeling better than I came in. It doesn't matter. So it's always leaves me on a positive note, which I believe sets the stage. So I do 3 things I'm grateful for. Then what I do is I do what I call the 24-hour positive experience. I believe I got this from a happiness book that I had read about 5-6 years ago. And in that it's you describe in your mind what is one positive experience you had in the last 24 hours. And you describe it with as much depth as possible. Sometimes super easy to do because you had a great day. Yep. Other times you don't have a great day and you got to kind of dig
for the positives.
What was the positive thing? But what it does is it primes your brain to seek out positive experiences. And that's very, very powerful when you're in a rut, especially. Then what I do is I do 3 things that I'm excited for or looking forward to for that particular day. Some days, again, very easy. Some days it's like, I'm excited to finish the shower. Like sometimes it's not as
not every day
is to do, right? And then the final thing that I do is the I am statements, where I embrace the identity that I'm becoming or that I aim to be.
It's like positive affirmations.
Yeah, I am patient. I am bold. I'm confident. I am a champion. I'm a money magnet. Whatever it is, and I try to, when I do that, now that I've done it so much, I try to be very intentional with what I am statements I'm saying.
Yeah.
By doing those things, it's 2 minutes. I get out. I'm feeling good. I'm ready to go. This tends to be something that is a super quick and easy thing that fires me up. And very easy to do.
You're building the foundation for your day. Yeah.
Always.
I just started doing this. I haven't even told you this yet. So I got like a life coach kind of situation. Yeah. But I do it every single night now. Like what I'm grateful for, how I lived in alignment today, what my intentions are for tomorrow. Just like a couple little, and I've already noticed like a difference. I wake up thinking about it. I go to sleep thinking about it. And it kind of, even if you are in a negative mindset, it kind of just switches the script a little bit because you think about it. Like, this did go great today, and I am grateful for this. And I do have a husband who loves me and amazing kids and a house, and
what compliment did I give you this week? I think I told it to you twice.
Yeah. Well, then it's funny. So he gave me a compliment. He's like, I've noticed a difference in you the last week.
I said your vibe this week has been like really good.
Yeah. And then I wake up the next morning and I fucking lose it on him. What did I even lose it on you about?
Which time?
And he's like, never mind. I thought about that. I was like, fuck, I was on a roll. Whatever.
That escalated quickly.
No, but like that does significantly help.
And I think like look, I'm be the first to admit I'm an incredibly driven person. There are few people that I know that can match that. It's not about that.
Ditto.
It's not about that. What it is about though is looking at the game you're trying to play, the life you're trying to live, and say like, am I willing to take that first step? Mm-hmm. Just am I willing to take that first step? I know I'm not feeling in myself today. I'm not having a great day. Well, what's one thing? And are you willing to do it? Mm-hmm. And then are you willing to do it again? And I think that for people that aren't maybe as naturally driven, or like I'm a initiator, I'm a go, I'm a extrovert, I'm a let's make shit happen all the time. Like that's naturally me. For people that aren't like that, that's okay. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean one's better than the other. It just means you have to identify what your style is. But at the root of all of it is you have to be willing to commit to doing something if you want to change. And it can be as small as the first step.
You can be ambitious and you can be driven and you can wake up with fire in your belly every day and move at a different pace than the other person. She moves way faster than I do. She makes more mistakes. I make mistakes too. But she gets just as much done, if not more than I do, and she goes fast. And that's one of the things I love about it.
I don't think I make that many mistakes. I mean, I do make mistakes. I make some mistakes, but like not that many.
She goes fast, and I love that about her. And she loves that about her too. And she wouldn't change that. I wouldn't change that about her. I move slower. I move in. If she's driving in the fast lane, I might be in the middle lane. I'm not definitely in the right lane, right? But you can still accomplish goals, dreams, etc. Driving in different lanes. Yeah. And you don't have to be like the next person. You don't have to move as fast as you two or the next person. You can still accomplish it on your own terms, but you just have to go. Mm-hmm. You have to put your foot on the gas.
You have to go.
You have to go.
You can't hit a home run if you don't swing the bat.
Exactly.
Right?
What's the Gretzky?
This is Chris's 100%
of the shots
you don't take.
Right? But all of
Let's go.
He's like, I'm going to sit down with this guy and I'm just going to do sports analogies the whole
time. Let's go. I got all the quotes. Yeah. I got all the parallels.
But it really is that, right? It's really as simple as
shoot or shoot.
Shoot or shoot. Yeah. What's the hockey one with you can't score if the goalie's not there?
He's not a hockey guy.
I mean, I know.
Whatever.
Skates where the puck's going. Don't follow it around, right?
Yeah. Like the point is, it's all the same stuff, right? Like whatever analogy we want to use, like. Do something.
Yeah.
Like do something. If you
and be consistent.
And the bigger the thing is that you want to do, the smaller the first step should be. Mm-hmm. Right? Like I think that's where we also get confused. And I see this with book writing all the time is I want to write a best-selling book. So you think I need to start writing. No. That's one of the biggest mistakes you can make is actually try to start writing right away. There's preparation, there's pre-work.
Like the outline.
There's the outline, there's the mindset around it, there's the vision, there's the audience, there's the who are you writing this for? Why are you writing it for?
Who's your demographic? Cater to them.
Once you know that, writing is easy.
You got to know your audience.
You got to know your audience. And so I think about it. I think about that a lot. And like when you want to, I did something where in a couple years ago, we're having drinks for New Year's Eve. Okay. We're at a bar and I'm like, this is great. And we're getting a little saucy and we're having fun. And I'm like, I need a big challenge. Like I need a new big challenge. I love challenges. And so we're sitting around and we're like, run a half marathon. I'm like, I'm a little bit bigger. And because that's not too hard, right?
Yeah.
So then we come to the conclusion, I've been loving the Peloton.
Who's we? You and your wife?
Me and yes, Jenna and a couple of my buddies as well. And we come up with this idea of a 100-mile bike ride. And I truthfully, I don't even know how to ride a regular bike. Like riding a regular bike is something that I don't do very often. So I got a Peloton, I'm like, done. And then we said, well, when's the time frame? Well, I knew I was going to Mexico in about a month and a half for a buddy's wedding. And I was like, well, I need to do it before then, because if I don't do it, I'm not going to commit. So we set the day for 6 weeks in advance to run, to bike 100 miles. And I put the date in the calendar that night, New Year's Eve, and it was like February 13th or something that I had to get this thing done by. 100-mile bike ride, and I was going to do it sitting on a Peloton. So if I would have just tried to do 100 miles, it wouldn't have worked. So what I did was I made the plan. Okay, what's the preparation going to be? How do I break it down? What's the nutrition going to be? I need bike shoes. I need bike butt pads because it hurts to sit on a bike for 7 hours in a row. I need entertainment.
Did you do this?
I need all these things, yeah. So I started training, and that first day, it sucked. I mean, it sucked. You know, I'm like, okay, let's just do 30 minutes and see what we can do. So I do it. Now I've been doing Peloton classes. It's like I could do that, but I was like, oh my gosh, this was 6 miles. Like I got to do this 16 times, like 16 more times.
Wait, did you do all 7 hours straight?
Well, let me get to the good part here. So I'm training. Now a week before, I didn't have time to do a full training plan. So the week before, I'm going for a 70 miler. And this is, I sit my ass on the bike. Yeah, and because you're trying to build up, right?
Yeah, the endurance.
And so the last one before the 100 miler, because you're going to have more momentum, you're going to have more energy, you're going to be more excited when it's the actual day. And so the week before, I'm doing 70 miles. And like, I'm already like, oh, this is brutal, right? But I get to about mile 65 and my body starts to shut down. And I have two thoughts. The first thought is, something's off. Like I got to stop. Like I'm not feeling it. Like this is not good. And the second thought that I had is, if I'm struggling now at mile 65, how the hell am I going to get to 100? How am I going to do that? And I ended up stopping my ride there. And I spent the whole next week refining. And this goes back to creating the plan and knowing kind of like what you need to do. And I spent the whole last week not working on my physicality, not working on flexibility, not working on endurance, not working on bike riding, but just updating the nutritional pieces of what to eat and when to eat during this time frame. Fast forward to the next day or the next week, I do the 100 miler. I sit on my bike. I do 100 miles on a Peloton in my 2-bedroom apartment in the kitchen. God. And I go from like 8 in the morning to 3 at night. I only get off to change my clothes. I'm a sweater. So I only get off to change my clothes, put them in the bathtub, put a new set of clothes on, and keep going. And I did 100 miles in about, 7 hours or something. So it took me longer than it would take other people, but I did it. And I did it in the time frame I wanted. All that to say is you got to start small. The bigger the goal, the smaller the first step needs to be, because you got to make sure that you can believe it's possible. Small wins over time equate to larger gains. Like it just works, right? There's a reason compounding interest is the greatest way to get wealthy, right?
You and Chris are going to be best friends.
Right?
I tell her this shit fucking daily.
No, he does.
Literally like almost verbatim.
Yeah, he lives by that.
This is the game. And so like what I try to do is if we boil it all down is like, I know what game I want to play. I know how I want to get there, but I have to figure out the smaller things. And that's just trial. That's error. That's collaboration. That's connection. Mm-hmm. You just go one step at a time. And the lesson that I've learned the most of it all is enjoy the pursuit of creating the life you want.
Enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride, right? Because cliche as it is, right? It's not the journey.
It's so
not the destination,
important.
It's a journey, but it's even bigger than that. It's about like remembering that you're in this life. Mm-hmm. Like we're doing this. Like this is awesome, right? Yeah. Like we're doing this. This isn't for the next thing. This is right here. Mm-hmm. So for this time, we're all in right now. Like, and if you can remember to be present in the present,
that's just so hard.
That's powerful.
So hard. But
that's
yeah,
when it's so fun.
Yeah.
That's when it's so fun because you're like, I'm doing it. Yeah. I'm doing it. Like I'm doing it. I'm living that.
It's almost a euphoric feeling too when you do that.
I love that. That's my worst fucking nightmare, by the way. I get that's amazing that you did that.
You get like tunnel vision when you're present.
So what's next for you?
There's so many things that are next. I think where my focus is really right now is I would say twofold. Mm-hmm. Number one is a couple months into my marriage, so really building the foundation there. We just moved into a new place together, so
congrats.
we're beyond excited. This is our first like home together where we're building it from the ground up.
LA?
In LA, which is amazing. And we're thinking about having kids sometime in the near future. We don't know exactly when that will be, but that's my
so
priority.
exciting.
Like, I know my priorities are, and it's family and my wife and everything. That'll always be most important to me. The second big focus that's coming up next is, instead of adding anything new to the plate, we're just going to keep getting better at what we already do really well.
I love that.
And we're just going to turn up the jets and help more people take their ideas, turn them into books, and make a lot of money on the
Ashley
back end.
Rogers' book this year, maybe.
Yes.
I feel like I'm almost ready.
We're here when you are.
Yeah.
If you think that you're good at what you do now, wait till you have kids.
Yeah.
Kids take you from here to here. I think they're like the magic sauce. Kids are amazing.
Yeah.
Kids are so cool 80% of the time.
Why does it push you to that next level? Is it because you want to do it for
you
that
have
reason?
A great question. You have something else now that you're living for, and you have something else that that you're responsible for, not only here and now, but for the future. Like the nature versus nurture argument, right? We're giving our kids foundational skills that they can take into the next part of their life and ultimately into the future and form them to the person that they ultimately will become, right?
Yeah.
And giving them tools. And it's so cool because you think about that and you could take that and then you can apply it to your own life because you want to be the best example. We want to be the best example for our kids every day. Now we have flaws and we're not perfect and we drop F-bombs in front of them and do things probably we shouldn't, but like overall I feel like we do a good job, but we're so intentional with it. And it's so cool because it makes you, it's definitely made me more efficient. You have less time.
Yeah.
So it makes you value your time more. Like I could go on and on.
I love what you just said there. Like that's a huge belief that I have is, what is it called? Parkinson's law, where the amount of space you give is what it will take, right?
Yep.
So if you give yourself a year to do something, it'll take a full year. If you give yourself a week, it'll take a week, right? That's what I'm hearing you say when you talk about kids and time is like, now you just have to be more productive and more efficient with the time that you have
to,
because you're not, unless you're willing to sacrifice kid time, which doesn't sound like you guys are.
We do sometimes. We're not perfect at it.
Depending on the season you're in, of course, and
there are different seasons.
Yeah, to be great, right?
We try our hardest not to leave trauma on our children, but like you said, you're never going to do it a perfect way, and you got to pick your battles. And
there's no manual to parenting. You'll find that out. There really isn't. And I mean, you could take little bits and pieces from people, friends, advice, etc. But ultimately, at the end of the day, your kids are your kids. They are who they are. You are who you are, and collectively you guys are going to be who you're going to be.
I think our generation is more aware too, of the way like our parents didn't. Stuff's more acceptable now, like going to therapy and talking about these things. So that's what I love about our generation is there's just more awareness around it on like how to raise your kids and what
more
to
tools.
do. Yes. Exactly.
More tools, but there is no manual. There's no manual. Like everyone's situation is different, but you definitely become more powerful. It's more inspiring, like to look down and see these like beautiful little faces stare up at you and like tell you that they love you. Like it gives you like, I almost like I get emotional talking about it. It gives you like more purpose in life. So it makes things, when you achieve something really cool, it makes it that much more rewarding. And that's the coolest part about being a parent.
Yeah, it's the best. You're going to be a good dad.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's fucking magic. It's powerful. It really is. I get goosebumps even just talking about it. It's so cool.
Okay, well, you're so amazing. And I feel like this was one of my favorite ones. Like there's some like good little nuggets in this one. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Really
guys.
cool.
This was
really
a lot of fun.
cool. Thanks for coming.